narcissist here. None of us have small goals.
And that's where the creating comes back in?
Absolutely, because it's the creation of self. So when we talk about the story of Jesus telling Nicodemus, rebirth from yourself, because Nicodemus says to Jesus, how am I supposed to be born again? I can't go back into the womb of my mother. And he's like, no, you birth yourself from yourself. At that moment, she birthed herself from herself. But we're not given permission to say that we are creators of ourselves. We must give the hierarchy. A force pulled her. It couldn't have been her. It couldn't have been her subconscious saying, bitch, you ain't gonna die now. So I have to give the credit to something paranormal, something outside of myself, because we're Westerners. It's outside. God is outside. No, she saved her own life. She died and rebirthed at that moment, because there is something that she needs to experience in this life that she has yet to experience. Forget if your kid creates the cure of something. Maybe it's just plain motherhood. Because we started with the fact that she is a very strong Demeter. So how am I supposed to die if I cannot have a kid? If I don't experience childbirth? It might just be that. We don't know. But if there's a Demeter archetype, and she hasn't, you don't have children, and she hasn't had children yet, how's that archetype being lived out? It's by taking and nurturing care of others. But something there, that force, that God, saved her, because there must be something. Because we're not allowed to say, I want to live, I want to experience pleasure. So that means I have to add to the end of that sentence, I want to experience pleasure, but I'm not allowed to say that, so hell, I have to find something big that I'm meant to do here. So you see how we intertwine religion and pain and pleasure and the flesh and all these things, and then God gets the brunt of it. God gets it all. God needs her to be here. Ain't God need nothing. She wants to experience having a child or curing something or being purposeful. But we don't have permission to say that and do that. But she's in a crisis existentially, like you, like me, because she's not sure what she believes 100%. And this thing with your aunt is going to trigger these questions and these beliefs. Is it time?
No.
15 minutes.
It's 11:57? Oh, it is time.
No,
Okay.
47.
47. 47. Oh.
So she explained something super powerful right there.
Super.
Do you still go back to punishment, or do you leave that question alone?
What do you
How
mean?
she punishes herself for pleasure, or why do you ask how she
Okay.
punishes herself for the suicidal idealization stuff?
Well, she's explained how she said, I'm sorry with each pill.
So that's how she punished herself?
Well, the thing is that she had to give some response or some answer to some higher being.
So that was it?
She went
I'm
on to
asking
the
for
information you
forgiveness
needed.
To something that might or might not be there. But I'm asking for forgiveness, even though it's wrong, but I'm still doing it.
Okay.
But I'm asking for forgiveness.
And so you really see that as long as she is doing pleasure, I'm just using this language, in function of the other, or in function of something supreme in the hierarchy, then it's okay.
Okay.
So we would continue finding out in other sessions, let's say, how else she permits herself to do stuff as long as it's in function of others. How did you end up coming back to Cuba or to the States, or leaving your mom in England? Or
My dad also moved with us, and he didn't like it. It was very depressing for him. And my mom started getting, like bone pains because of the cold. So my dad said, okay, let's move to United States.
what is the psyche of the bone? She never had bone pain before your dad showed up?
Yeah, but it was more like, okay, now, the whole family is back together.
The bone has to do with the stability, it has to do with the masculine part of the body. It's the male. That's very Capricorn. So the man showed up, and now I have to have a reason to leave. My daughter asked me to leave, or my daughter hated it here. But now the male showed
I
up.
wanted to stay. I was 16 and I told her I wanted not to leave because I want to stay here. And I'm
There's so much.
thankful that I did it because I'm so happy here, even though I continued having those thoughts and stuff, but it was closer to home.
But was it because you were with the boy?
Oh, no, I was 16, you know, I have no boys. And,
The boy came at 21.
Oh, okay.
I do think that I went for it just because I wanted to see my parents together again.
Okay.
And when you mentioned kids, ever since I was a little girl, always imagined me being a mother.
Okay, what sign is that? What archetype? What goddess? So Cancer, the nurturer, or the mother, Demeter. So that has to be a very, very important purpose for this person. Did you see the movie The Blind Side? Okay, do you remember when he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do on the football field? And Sandra Bullock's character goes up to him and says, "This is your family. If someone tried to hurt me, would you protect me?" You remember that scene. Of course you remember that scene. I remember that scene. I remember two scenes. When he goes like this to protect little boy, and when she goes and says, "All of them are your family." And then he started doing because that's my archetype too.
What she says to the coach afterwards too.
Exactly. And she remembered that in his profile, he scored a 90 on the protector archetype. They didn't call it archetype, but whatever they called it. So you now have the answer in which you're going to motivate this client. How do we use that? Let's say she doesn't do the art project. Let's say she comes in next week and says, "Nope, didn't do it." You could use that archetype and saying, you know, all of these things, studies show that children that do art get into better colleges or blah, blah, blah. And now you are utilizing that client archetype, that value system.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
In how to get behavior change. Because the tendency doesn't change, the behavior does. So she may not do the art for herself, but she'll do it if she thinks it might serve her child 5 years from now. Notice how she wanted to stay, but when she saw her parents together, the child rules. The archetype rules. Your tendency does not change. Yes?
It's funny that she mentioned that, because just yesterday I said the same thing. I want to learn how to do all these creative things, so when I have my child, we can enjoy it together. And I always thought of myself as a mother, because I told myself that the moment that I'm a mother, I will correct my mother's mistakes in my child's relationship with me.
Thankfully, she has not been in our class for the past 6 months. You'll be so disappointed to know you'll just repeat the worst Paula.
So that's always been my thing. I want to be a mother so I can correct my mother's mistakes on
It'll
me.
still be 0 to 100 though.
Of course.
Like I'm trying to do the same thing and I realized I can't fix them, and I try to do it and it's just the 100 to the 0, the 0 to the 100, and
Yeah.
you can't.
So that's later on
Yeah.
in the session, but.
No, I was just talking to her.
No, I know, but I'm
Yeah,
saying later
I'll try.
on, we can slowly start, because all it is still meeting the parents' needs.
Yeah.
The 0 to the 100. So in our language, 0 and 100 is the same coin, different sides.
Mhm.
But if you were our client, we would use that later on. Okay, but as of right now, we found the archetype and we gotta milk it.
Okay.
So in order for her to do behavior change for her, we have to use this non-existent child, because remember, some force saved her so she can have the kid that's gonna find the cure to something. So we milk it. That's how we as a therapist can guide the client to do things for themselves that is a form of self-love rather than self-loathing, in the use of what we know. Yes.
I just thought of something. Also in her wording, not once did she say, I have a purpose. The reason I'm living, the reason I'm allowed to live is because I must have something to do. There was no I in anything.
Right. It was God or
It
the child.
was the child or something else, but it wasn't, I have a purpose, which is, one of the main themes of why people want to live is because you have to find your purpose, whatever that is. Maybe it's motherhood. I agree. I felt the same way. I always wanted to be a mother. And I had to wait all the way to 41 before I became a mother. But I always had the faith that it was supposed to be, So I had to wait a long time, but I did it. And I'm still doing it.
I see it. She gets so teary-eyed. You
I
see
know.
the
Yeah, I was
Demeter.
looking, look at her cheek.
The
I know.
Demeter just gets
I know.
so, and she's
I know.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm
Two
very happy,
things.
blessed.
Now, I'm just pinpointing things so that you could see that we have information for months and months and months. There has to be a value system around men. Why? Two things happened in the conversation that indicated that male is a priority, or masculinity, or maleness, in whatever form that is, doesn't have to be in a man, is valued. What?
With the mom and dad, like, when the dad came and he wanted to leave and she didn't want to, but then the mother ended up getting the phone thing, and so then they came because he wanted to, so he was put first there. And then, she also put him first when she wanted to stay. Well, her mother put him first, then she put him first when she saw her mother and her father back together, and that made her, she wanted to stay in England, leave. And the mom manifested through the phone thing, so that was where the man was put first both times.
Okay, and she also talked about her boyfriend.
Oh, yeah,
She was worth living when she had a boyfriend.
She couldn't leave him.
So why would I use the mom's bone pain? I know that bone represents like the structure of the family, or the male in the family, the provider, because it's, the one that creates the structure, and male is structure where mom is more of like the nurturer. Why would I use the mom's bone pain to tell me about her psyche?
Okay, hold on. Can you rephrase that?
Origin?
She talks about her mother having bone pain.
Yeah.
When the father comes and wants to move, everything in the body is a map of the psyche. So I know that the mother, you have to go?
No, I was just gonna say, because the stability has been taken away, if you have to move, like, the stable environment, as far as like the bone pain goes, you were saying.
Okay, well, the mom has to create the bone pain to follow stability, but also to follow the man. So there has to be a value system there that's a little weird. Here's the mom, she's been supporting the daughter all this time, and all of a sudden the man comes and now she has to do what the man says. But screw you, I've been doing this for however many years. Now I must create bone pain, bone meaning the structure of the family has now arrived again, to have an excuse to move to a warmer climate. But why would I care about the mother's bone pain when she's my client?
She's mirroring that?
Absolutely, she's mirroring, and it's a value system. So what were you taught about men being the worth of the system beyond the woman?
I have a battle with that every
Of
single
course.
day.
Of course. You see how you're pulling the threads? The mother's bone tells me about her because that woman raised her. There has to be a conflict there. Has to be.
I tell myself every day, you're an independent woman, you're in the United States, it's not 2018, you don't need no man. But at the same time, it's like coming home, having dinner, make dinner, clean, do laundry for my husband.
What
he
archetype, what
comes.
goddess is right there?
Um,
See if there's a-
it's
What?
not the leader, the mother.
No, Demeter's the mom, but which is the wife?
Other,
African.
No.
No.
Hera.
Aphrodite says,
Yeah, Aphrodite
For
says,
me.
woo!
Aphrodite says
Give me sex and get the hell out. A man in my bed, but nowhere else, not in my house.
Sorry.
Hera.
Yeah.
There's values about marriage. There's values about the husband and wife being a team, the woman having a certain role, the man having a certain role. So those are values in her bad bucket that she either has to decide she's okay with and put them in the fuck it bucket, or she has to say, I don't believe this, I'm gonna go move on to Nordstrom's and screw you. I don't need to be married, I could have children out of wedlock, I could be a strong independent woman, I don't need a man. But there's conflict, there has to be, because the minute the husband comes back, the daughter, but the mother manifests the bone pain. Everything is a mirror, we're all one. We're all one. I had that problem for years, and now I recently got divorced, and I'm like, I don't want to be divorced, and forever I didn't want to be married. So you're mirroring something that was in me. So we're always mirroring.
Can I ask a side question?
Of course.
Okay, is it responsible that if you like do it, okay, I did this thing with my daughter and I probably shouldn't have done it. So I found somebody I knew that she didn't like, which is her father. And I was like, no, what don't you like about your dad, you know? And she gave me this list. And so then, because I just read it, so I was like, well, you know, let me ask you some other things. And I asked her if maybe that's how she felt about herself. Because, you know, I brought up the little things and she got really mad at me and told me.
The better question is, where do you have these qualities?
Well, I mean, I worded it differently. We're sitting there, we're talking, and now she doesn't want me to do any more stuff on her.
And we're not really supposed to use our family as clients. They hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was like, you know, so is it
But
that,
keep doing it.
is it that I touched the nerve? No, but listen.
Of course you touched a nerve.
So, you know, at first she was denial and she got mad at me, and then, you know, she went in her room. But then yesterday she comes to me because I was explaining to her earlier, I'm like, you know, I just want you to maybe start reading some of these books. It's not that I'm trying to fix you or change you. I just want you to understand who you are so later you can be a better person. So last night she was like, Mom, can you give me one of those books? Just one. And let me get a small book. So I think, you know, like,
Yes, don't
but
stop.
is that irresponsible of me because I'm wording everything?
Helping your child grow,
Okay.
that's my definition of a good
Educating
parent.
her,
But I'm not
no,
trying to, like,
absolutely.
I'm not messing with her head, but I'm trying to
No,
let
but
her see
she's
things.
gonna read it and she's gonna take something from it. And if you say you use these, and the belief is that we mirror, where do you have these? You're giving open-ended question for her to decide, does she have those
'Cause I
qualities or does
asked
she
her that
not?
question, you know?
Don't take responsibility.
And always bring it back to you. You know, I did this.
Okay.
I did that. I noticed that when I did this.
Because I make
The minute that you can bring the client, in this case your daughter, sees that you're human and that you have done this work, all of a sudden that person is like, oh, okay, it's not
Because you're
this,
not this,
it's
you're-
this.
And that's what I try to do too. But then when she came last night and asked me for one of the smallest books that I have that she could read, I'm like, so I'm not being
Yes, not
I'm not being
irresponsible.
irresponsible.
As long as you're not this.
No, because it was a rapport and we're going back and forth.
Is she
Exactly.
an only child?
Yeah, I only have one.
Teach the hell out of her.
I'm
Don't
trying to
be like, oh, let her do, no. You got, I'm an only child,
She's
so I
very
know what it's
sensitive.
like. My mom was like, this.
Yep.
She's
I,
just,
look, my
Like a
kids are
horse.
sick of it, but
yeah. the
And that's
one-
not good, that's not good.
my son, when I was telling him I was gonna die, he's like, what am I gonna do? You taught me everything I know, you're my best teacher, like,
Oh, my daughter, like, she's like, if anything happens to you, I don't know what I would do. I'm like, well, hopefully I'll be here for a while.
well, and they do know because you taught well. That's the
So
thing.
sensitive. Well, you know other stuff that I don't know. I guess I'm trying to like, you know?
Well, but go with it. That's
So,
why
but
when
that's the
she
thing, I'm not
said
being
bad
irresponsible.
mother, you didn't give a shit that it was God or Jehovah. You were her bad mother. That's me. You didn't give a shit about the blood transfusion. You're the bad mother. That's what you heard. Okay, so define what a good mother is in your definition. Use step 4.
Okay.
And ask yourself, what purpose does it serve? What need does it fulfill for you to convince yourself that you're a bad mother? Because then your mom is the best mother ever, whatever it is. If you're a better mother than your mom, oh shit. I know.
So I'm just making sure I'm not being irresponsible, because I don't know
No.
everything, I don't wanna.
I don't think teaching a child anything, as long as it's age and stage appropriate, is irresponsible. I talk to my kids about everything. That's just my personal opinion, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right, but you're asking me, so I'm giving you my opinion. But no, I don't think so. And as long as it's not in a judgment, and as long as it's not in a you must.
Until she
I
got
take it,
there.
we're out of time. Because mom has to go get her kid.
So now she's
Bye,
upset.